Came to set the captives free, chapter 6, the wedding. Elaine talks. I had many privileges as a high priestess, and I greatly benefited from these in my day-to-day life. But I continued to thirst for ever greater power. A few years after becoming a high priestess, I reached my goal of becoming a regional bride of Satan. Many high priestesses call themselves brides of Satan, and in a sense they are, but Satan has a very few chosen women that become his brides in a much more exclusive manner. Only 5 to 10, and usually only 5, exist in the United States at one time. This position is the highest and most, quote, unhonorable position to which a woman can attain within Satanism. One woman is picked by Satan from a large region of the country. That woman is considered the most powerful and respected and loved in the whole area. These women also sit on the National Council, which runs all the Satanists in this country and has also much power internationally because of the great wealth in the United States. Satan himself came to me to tell me that he had selected me for this great honor. My goodness. He presented himself to me in the physical form of a man, very handsome, in fact, the exact image of what I held in my mind as being the quote, perfect, unquote, man. He told me that he had selected me because he loved me above all the others, and that he both liked and respected my courage and abilities. He behaved in a very loving, God help us, and romantic manner, telling me of his love and of the wonderful times we would have together. He also promised to give me much greater power and many special privileges. I was honored and excited, mostly excited because I hoped that at last I was truly loved. I thought that I was the most powerful and honored of all women. I thought that Satan had picked me because of my abilities and my love for him, which had grown stronger and stronger year after year. I did not at that time see that Satan was merely using my love for him to benefit himself. He used me to get other people to do what he wanted and used my love for him for my own destruction. All his declarations of his love for me were mere lies. The ceremony was held in a large city nearby. One of the city's largest and most beautiful Presbyterian churches was rented by the cult for the occasion. Well, I am sure that the owners of the church had no idea what their church was being rented for. I had arranged to have a 3-day weekend off of work. The ceremony took place on Friday night, the first night of the full moon. I was carefully guarded and my every wish attended to. I was so excited and elated. As my companions and I approached the church, I was briefly impressed with a feeling of a heavy darkness hanging over the church, but I shrugged the feeling aside, turning my thoughts to the love and admiration held for Satan. My goodness. I was taken to a room away from the sanctuary at the church and carefully prepared and dressed for the occasion. At that time, my hair was long, blonde, and curly. The women fixed my hair with live flowers, which they wove into it. I was dressed in a white, long, flowing robe-type gown with gold braid crisscrossing my chest. There was a splotch of red over my heart and pubic area. I had a crown of pure gold placed on my head. I carried a bouquet made up of grasses, thistles, and poisonous berries, all tied with a black ribbon. I stood outside in the sanctuary, peeping in. I was praised and greatly honored to see that not only were there many people there from the surrounding states and California, but also a number of older members of the cult. Oh my goodness, why does this keep happening? I am so sorry. Of the cult from the Eastern world. This was indeed a great honor. The sanctuary was filled with eerie music from the large pipe organ. Satan's golden throne had been transported to the church and set up on the platform at the front. The signal to start the ceremony was Satan's sudden appearance in physical form on the throne. Again, he appeared as a man, dressed completely in white, wearing a crown of gold and many jewels in it. The whole congregation stood with a shout, and much worship was given to Satan. Then, at a sign from Satan, all heads turned to the back, and I started forward down the aisle. I was escorted by the high priest, followed by the Sisters of Light. When I reached the end of the aisle, I stopped before Satan's throne and bowed down before him and did him homage. Then he gave me the command to rise, and I did. As I did so, he arose from his throne and came to stand beside me. My apologies. I don't know why I keep coughing, but anyway, rebuke that in the name of Jesus. I have to find where I stopped. I believe she was already... Let me just go this part again. I started forward down the aisle, and I was escorted by the high priest, followed by the Sisters of Light. When I reached the end of the aisle, I stopped before Satan's throne and bowed down before him and did him homage. Then he gave me the command to rise. As I did so, he arose from his throne and came down to the stand beside me. The high priest performed the wedding ceremony. Most of the ceremony was singing, chanting, and proclaiming the praises of Satan. The Sisters of Light stood in a semicircle behind us and chanted and hummed quietly throughout the ceremony. The ceremony took almost 2 hours. I stood the whole time. I again signed a contract with my own blood. Then I was given liquid to drink from a golden goblet. I do not know what was in the liquid, but I suppose there were some drugs in it, as I felt rather lightheaded after drinking it. It certainly destroyed the clarity of my mind. I was told that the contract was binding. There was absolutely no way to get out of it. Satan doesn't believe in divorce. Oh my goodness. Satan himself did not give any of his blood, neither did he drink any of the potion. He told me that he could not, as he must keep himself pure for me, but that I must drink it in order to purify myself for him. He was the most beautiful I had ever seen him. He wore, oh my goodness. So he wore what looked like a pure white tuxedo decorated with gold, and his hair was, on this occasion, shining gold, and his skin bronzed as with a beautiful tan. His eyes were dark, and the love he professed for me, and the smiles he gave to me never seemed to reach his eyes. But I wanted to believe that he really did love me, and that he was really my husband. He treated me with the greatest of respect. He caressed my cheek, my hair, my arms. He told me how I looked to him, great beauty, great power, and that I could become what he really always hoped for, the mother of his son, the, quote, the Christ, unquote, the Redeemer of the world. I was completely taken in by his deception. Satan gave me a beautiful broad gold wedding band with an inscription inside which said, "Behold the bride of the Prince of the world." Although Satan showed no hostility toward me, he did towards others. Anyone moving toward him to touch him or to bow down to him was kicked or beaten and driven away. Immediately after the ceremony, I was taken by the Sisters of Light, changed into an exquisite gown, and given a cape of velvet trimmed with pure gold. We were then taken to a limousine to the airport, where we boarded a luxurious private jet along with several high priests and high priestesses and flowed out to California. The wedding supper was served aboard the jet on the way. Satan did not eat any food, but he did sip at several of very expensive wines and champagnes available. He had very little to say. By the time we arrived at the mansion in the hills of California, I was pretty hazy from the drugs I had been given. We were escorted with much pomp and ceremony to a large suite of rooms. The bedchamber had a large golden bed in it. Afterwards, I was thankful for the drugs I'd been given, because once we were alone, oh boy, Lord help us, God, what she's about to say. Satan's beautiful appearance disappeared, and the sexual intercourse we had was brutal. Oh boy. I don't really want to read all this, but Satan was gone by the time I woke the next day. I was in agony with many wounds from the night. I was thankful that he did not reappear again that weekend. I was flown home on Sunday. While I was there, I was treated like royalty. I was waited on hand and foot and given anything I wanted. I received many advantages with my new position. I held absolute power over all the witches and warlocks, even the high priest. I was untouchable. I gained more power and new demons. Only one witch was foolish enough to try to take me on. with merely one look, I pushed her into the wall, literally into the wall itself, so that she had to be cut out. She sustained many broken bones and other injuries as a result. She never again tried to harm me, and neither did any other human. I rapidly rose to position of top bride, and my responsibilities grew also. I became one of Satan's representatives on an international level. I made many trips out to California to meet with government officials from the U.S. as well as foreign dignitaries. Surprise. Representatives of foreign governments came to the mansion in California to petition for money for arms and etc. Most knew that they were dealing with Satan. A few did not. Very large sums of money changed hands. Man Chan spoke through me on most occasions, speaking each one's own native language perfectly. Man Chan also gave me the interpretation of what those people were saying. I could not begin to speak the many different languages myself, but Man Chan knew them all. I also made a number of trips to other countries. I had been to Mecca, Israel, Egypt, and the Vatican and Rome to meet with the Pope. All of my trips were for the purpose of coordinating Satan's programs with Satanists in other lands, as well as meeting with various government officials to discuss aid to their countries in the form of money. A few did not know that I was a Satanist, but thought I was associated with a powerful, wealthy organization of some kind. People asking for money don't ask too many questions. The Pope knew very well who I was. We worked closely both with the Catholics, especially the Jesuits, and the high-ranking Masons. It was during this time that I met many of the well-known rock music stars. They all signed contracts with Satan in return for fame and fortune. The evolution of rock music in the United States was carefully planned by Satan and carried out by his servants step by step. Despite my high position and great power, I lived in constant fear. I had no peace, and I felt very trapped. My greatest problem was with the incredible evil perpetuated within the cult, the brutal discipline, and above all, human sacrifice. My goodness, have mercy, Jesus. The end of chapter 6.